Effective immediately, you're being let go. My name is Nathan Cole. I'm 41 years old, and for 14 years I had worked at Hollowgate Systems. 14 years of 60-hour weeks, missed family dinners, and building their automation platform entirely from the ground up. The words came from Trevor Walsh, our Chief Operating Officer. Inside a cramped conference room hidden backstage at the Phoenix Convention Center, out in the main hall, the annual company summit was underway where 800 employees sat waiting to hear about our record-breaking quarter. I stayed seated a moment, watching Trevor fidget with his tablet, unable to meet my eyes. Behind him, I heard the distant hum of the auditorium, the chatter of my soon-to-be former colleagues, taking their seats, unaware I was being erased from the company. This is part of a broader efficiency initiative, Trevor continued, reading. From what was clearly a prepared script, we value your contributions, but moving forward, we need to streamline operations. I thought immediately of the automation tool I had been designing in my spare hours, the one that could process client onboarding in minutes rather than hours. The same tool Trevor had dismissed only 3 months earlier as interesting, but not scalable. The tool that could completely change the way Hollowgate functioned. I understand, I said, keeping my voice level. Trevor looked startled by my calm response. He had likely expected anger, maybe even threats of wrongful termination. Instead, I stood, shook his hand, and walked toward the door. Just as I reached it, applause exploded from the main auditorium. Someone had taken the stage. I should have walked out of the building, gone back to my Scottsdale apartment, and started updating my resume. Instead, I slipped into the very back of the auditorium and sat in an empty seat. On stage stood CEO Bradley Hawkins, his polished smile stretching wide as he adjusted the microphone. Bradley was the kind of man who wore $1,000 suits but never got his hands dirty. He'd inherited the company from his father 5 years earlier and had been coasting ever since on the work people like me built. Today marks a new chapter. For Hollowgate Systems, he announced, his voice booming. We are launching an efficiency initiative that will save millions and position us for extraordinary growth. The irony wasn't lost on me. Cost-cutting measures announced at an event that cost $200,000. I pulled out my phone, checking the time, and that was when I saw it. A message notification. It was from Claudia Vega, and Claudia was not someone you ignored. Founder of Vidian Capital. She controlled 30% of Hollowgate stock through various investment arms. She was the one who had pushed for automation expansion 2 years earlier, the very systems I had been perfecting through countless sleepless nights. The message was simple. Got a minute? Let's take him down. I stared at the screen, my thoughts racing. Claudia had always stood apart from the other investors. While they obsessed over quarterly margins, she grasped the technical side. She was the only board member who had ever asked detailed questions about my automation projects.
3 months
ago, I had presented the most comprehensive system yet, a platform capable of client onboarding, project management, and billing integration, reducing manual processing time by 80%. Bradley had barely looked up from his phone. Trevor had thrown out a few questions, but his mind was clearly elsewhere. At the end, Bradley had muttered, "Interesting work, Nathan, but we need proven solutions right now." That had been the first crack in my trust. I had built every major system Hollowgate relied on: the client database, billing automation, project trackers, all from my code. Yet when I brought them something transformative, they treated it like a pet project. The second crack came last month when I discovered Trevor negotiating with an outside software vendor for a system identical to mine, only less efficient and 10 times the cost. Bradley brushed it off as preliminary research. The third crack, sitting here tonight watching them brag about efficiency while firing the very people who kept the company functional. I typed back to Claudia, "Where do you want to meet?" Her reply was immediate Hilton lobby. 20 minutes. I slipped out as Bradley's voice filled the hall, applause echoing around me. 20 minutes was more than enough time to change everything.